Today, I want to take you on a journey through an ordinary family life that spirals into a complex web of emotions, choices, and consequences. This is a story of love, betrayal, parenthood, and the struggle to redefine oneself amid turmoil. Our main character, Arthur, is a freelance graphic designer who has dedicated the last 12 years to building a life with his wife, Elara, and their quiet, observant son, Leo. As we begin, Arthur reflects on the beautiful, yet simple life they have crafted. They live in a cozy home filled with warmth and laughter. Arthur remembers the early days, especially the struggle Alara faced after the birth of their son, Leo. Postpartum anxiety gripped Alara deeply, and it was a challenging time for both of them. Arthur stood as a steadfast pillar of support during those tough months, helping her navigate through the storm. He became the anchor of their small family unit, prioritizing Alara's emotional recovery and their son's well-being above all else. Lately, however, Arthur has felt a shift. The light that once illuminated their shared space dims as Alara starts exhibiting concerning changes. She becomes increasingly withdrawn, retreating into herself like a turtle withdrawing into its shell. She spends long hours on her phone, often emerging late with vague excuses about missed school schedules and household responsibilities. Arthur notices the small things, the way she no longer engages in conversations, how her laughter has faded, and the warmth in her smile seems to fluctuate. A nagging sense of worry begins gnawing at his insides. Then there are the credit card statements. He starts to notice more closely. Unusually high charges for boutique hotels and extravagant dinners begin to crop up on their shared account, leaving Arthur feeling a strange mix of confusion and dread. He can no longer dismiss those late nights and hushed conversations anymore. Something is amiss, and it feels like a fracture slowly creeping into the very foundation of their lives. Despite his instincts screaming at him to confront Alara, Arthur chooses a path of patience. He tries to gather his thoughts, to piece together the puzzle through quiet observation rather than confrontation. However, the walls of secrecy grow thicker, marked by her guarded expressions whenever he enters a room. He catches snippets of cryptic conversations and deleted messages. Even his son Leo seems to feel the tension, his watchful eyes darting between his parents as if sensing the mounting pressure. Finally, after weeks of silent suffering, Arthur decides to confront Ilara with a calm, steady resolve. He lays out the evidence before her, the credit card charges, the late nights, the suspicious behavior, and in that moment, as he watches her crumble beneath the weight of his words, he realizes how love can sometimes turn into a weapon. Ilara breaks down, confessing to an affair with a former client, an older man who she thought offered her a sense of hope and excitement she felt she had lost. As tears stream down her face, she expresses deep remorse, claiming that her actions stemmed from a feeling of personal stagnation, a need to reconnect with the part of herself that felt vibrant and alive. Arthur struggles to process her words. He has spent his life supporting Alara, helping her heal, and now he finds himself in the throes of betrayal. The emotional tether that connected them begins to fray, leaving Arthur to wrestle with a tumultuous sea of conflicting emotions. He has been the anchor, but now he finds himself adrift, desperately searching for solid ground. This is a pivotal moment for Arthur, a juncture that will redefine their lives and the fabric of their family. He instinctively shifts into protector mode, prioritizing Leo, their son, who remains blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within the walls of their home. Arthur's heart aches for his wife and son, and as he grapples with his sinking feelings of betrayal, he knows it is time to make a choice that will ripple through their lives in ways he cannot yet fathom. As we delve deeper into this story, we will explore the intricate layers of love, loss, and resilience within the home that has turned from a sanctuary into a battlefield. Stay with me as we unpack this emotional journey that challenges the very essence of family, trust, and healing. As the weeks pass, the subtle changes in Alara's behavior become harder for Arthur to ignore. It is as if she has slowly retreated into a shadowy world where he is not permitted to follow. Once a vibrant partner, Alara has turned into a muted figure in their home. The disquieting silence that fills the house is punctuated only by the soft clicks of her keyboard at ungodly hours and the seemingly endless echo of notifications from her phone. Arthur, who prides himself on his ability to read the emotions of those he loves, struggles to penetrate the veil of secrecy she has drawn around herself. He remembers fondly the days when he would find her curled up on the couch, her laughter ringing out like music as they navigated parenting together. They used to share stories about their day, dream about the future, and cherish the small moments. Now those days feel like faded photographs tucked away in an album that is collecting dust. This disparity creates an ache in Arthur's chest, but he tries to dismiss his growing concerns in the hope that it is merely a phase, a simple fluctuation in the rhythm of life that will return to harmony. But as Alara continues to spend late nights on her phone, using vague explanations to mask her absence, long meetings or schoolwork that stretch well into the early hours, Arthur's anxiety morphs into an all-consuming dread. He watches the clock tick past midnight, his heart racing each time he hears her footsteps approaching, hoping for a connection only to find her disengaged and distant when she comes back. He notices the subtle changes. Her engagement with Leo's school schedule begins to wither, important dates slip through her fingers, and Arthur finds himself trying to juggle their son's needs alone. His instincts scream at him that something is fundamentally wrong, yet he clings desperately to the hope that perhaps it is nothing more than stress. However, that hope begins to fade as the air thickens with unspoken disappointment. The tipping point arrives one night when Arthur examines their shared credit card statement, his eyes widening in disbelief at the sight of exorbitant charges made at boutique hotels and lavish restaurants, places that were never part of their modest budget. Confusion morphs into dread, propelling him down the path of scrutiny. He recalls the snug little family dinners they had grown accustomed to, the fond memories crafted over homemade meals, and the warmth that surrounded their dining table now feels like a distant oasis. Arthur's heart is heavy with a mix of anger and vulnerability as he notes Alara's increasing secrecy, her whispered conversations that cease abruptly as he enters the room, her evasive glances, and the new perfume that lingers in the air like an uninvited guest. He can no longer ignore the shifting sands beneath his feet. He recognizes they are about to sink into an abyss of deceit that threatens to engulf everything they have built. For a brief moment, as he stares at the bill with its stark implications, he contemplates reaching out to her, but fear grips him. He fears that confronting Alara would evoke the very truth that could shatter the remnants of their family, a truth he is not yet ready to face. Instead, he opts for patience, watching her every move with a heavy heart and a brain full of questions that go unanswered. Yet that patience is becoming a double-edged sword, driving him deeper into uncertainty and emotional turmoil. One fateful afternoon while Leo is at school, Arthur's sense of foreboding mounts to an unbearable peak. Driven by mixed emotions of fear, love, and curiosity, he resolves to look through Alara's tablet, convinced that the evidence he seeks lies within its digital confines. As he scrolls through her messages, he stumbles across the chilling truth, a series of cryptic, deleted messages that leave his heart racing. In that moment, clarity strikes him like lightning. The vague hints and half-hearted excuses, the lingering scent of betrayal all rush to make sense of themselves. Arthur's resolve crystallizes, and he steels himself to confront Alara. He knows this is a moment of reckoning, one that could either continue to fracture their lives or ignite a path toward painful honesty. As night falls, he finds her in the living room, a gentle glow from her phone illuminating her face as she immerses herself in a world he feels increasingly alien to. With a heavy heart, he confronts her, carefully laying down the evidence and surrendering to the swell of anguish that threatens to choke him. The room fills with an unbearable silence, the tiniest crack of betrayal echoing in the space between them. At first, Alara's denial wraps around them like a thick fog, but as Arthur's calm yet firm words press against her defenses, the weight of her lies crashes down upon her. She breaks, an anguished confession spilling forth like a flood, revealing her affair with a former client, a man she claims provided an exhilarating escape from her stagnant life, a taste of freedom she had longed for. Her tears mingle with the silence as the gravity of the situation settles over them. Arthur watches as raw remorse flashes across her face, a reflection of the woman he once loved fiercely. Yet as she pleads for forgiveness, he grapples with the heart-wrenching realization that the foundation of their family has been irreparably shaken. The anchor that he believed he was for them all this time threatens to drag him under, and the tumultuous tide of emotions that rages within him drowns out any remnants of hope he had clung to. In that fleeting moment of her vulnerability, he grapples with the heartache of what was lost and the uncertain future ahead. They stand on the precipice of a decision that could forever alter their lives as parents and partners. As Arthur stares into the depths of her eyes, he recognizes that healing will not come easily. The path forward is littered with jagged shards of trust now broken, and the journey ahead looms large and daunting. Yet it is a journey they must undertake together or face the disintegration of their once quiet family life. As the days morph into weeks, Arthur and Alara find themselves navigating a precarious path woven with threads of empathy, pain, and a tentative hope lingering at the edges of their fraught relationship. With Leo's laughter echoing through their once vibrant home, Arthur, in his role as the unwilling caretaker of their shattered family dynamics, strives to shield their son from the mounting tension that now hangs in every room. The contrast between Leo's innocent joy and the heaviness clouding his parents' hearts creates a chasm that feels almost unbridgeable. In a shared commitment to mend the fractures of their marriage, Arthur and Alara embark on a journey of marital therapy, though Arthur remains acutely aware that this will be no easy voyage. Their sessions are marked by moments of fragile vulnerability and sharp edges of resentment, where tears mingle with reluctant confessions. Alara tries to express her remorse and anxieties over her choices, while Arthur grapples with waves of distrust that crash against his renewed desire to understand her pain. Therapy becomes a battleground of emotions, sweaty palms, clenched jaws, and moments of profound silence punctuated by half-hearted attempts at reconciliation. Despite the atmosphere of unease, glimmers of connection occasionally flicker to life, like small flames yearning to transform a cold and darkened room. Yet with every spark ignited, the specter of Alara's betrayal looms like an endless echo of doubt. Intimacy, which once flowed effortlessly between them, now feels like a hollow undertaking, performative and marred by lingering anxieties. In their moments together, a feeling of forced affection envelops them, a feeble attempt to recreate what they had lost, even while their hearts whisper the haunting refrain of what has transpired. Then, as if life itself wishes to complicate their already strained existence, Ilara discovers she is pregnant once more, an announcement she delivers with a blend of hope and trepidation. The news is met with a cacophony of mixed emotions. Within Arthur, who feels a paradoxical blend of joy and heavy suspicion weighing down on his chest, while Alara's eyes gleam with the flickering light of a future that feels uncertain yet promising, Arthur's mind races with an unspoken dread. The child's paternity lingers in the shadows, a question that festers like an unhealed wound. In those quiet moments following her announcement, reality wraps itself around Arthur, settling heavily like a shroud, as he grapples with the reality that the little life inside Alara may be the product of a web of deceit trying to shield Alara from his inner turmoil. He offers smiles and empty reassurances, though every congratulations feels like a betrayal of the truth that gnaws away at his gut. They begin to awkwardly plan for the future, assigning names and imagining the nursery, even as Arthur's heart quakes at the thought of welcoming another child into a stormy union. Alara's pregnancy progresses, but the life growing inside her does not bring the harmony they seek. Rather, it amplifies the tension and hollowness in their relationship. As she experiences the familiar discomforts of early pregnancy and navigates the demands of motherhood with Leo, Arthur finds himself in a dizzying dance of responsibilities. He juggles the remnants of his graphic design work, parenting Leo alone more often than Alara, yet yearning to shield her from the weight of their circumstances. Compounded by sleepless nights filled with worry and unanswered questions, Arthur's mind spirals into dark corners filled with self-doubt and anger. He tries to convince himself that they can emerge from this turmoil stronger, but the festering gnaw of suspicion creeps uninvited into his resolve. When Alara holds her belly tenderly, speaking to their unborn daughter with a voice laced with hope and dreams, Arthur feels simultaneously pangs of love and waves of uncertainty crashing over him. Their fragile attempts at intimacy, ignited by desire and hope, are often overshadowed by the shadows of betrayal. There are moments when the flicker of longing ignites between them, a tender kiss, a longing gaze, yet these moments are so often marred by Arthur's inner questions that go unvoiced, questions that trap his heart in chains of uncertainty and doubt. Finally, the day arrives when Alara gives birth to a daughter they name Phoebe. As she is placed in Alara's gentle arms, Arthur's heart dances with joy upon seeing the little face that symbolizes their shared commitment to nurture and love. Yet, as he gazes at her bright eyes, a stark realization hits him. Phoebe's lighter hair and distinct eye color serve as a mirror reflecting the treachery that brought her into existence. The contrast between what he hoped for and the reality he faces sharpens the unease deeply seated within him. In that moment, Arthur fights through the maelstrom of emotions overtaking him, the conflicting sensations of awe for Phoebe and the glaring absence of clarity regarding his own role as her father. The fragile threads of hope that were once woven into their lives begin to fray, leaving Arthur standing at a crossroads where love is tangled with betrayal and uncertainty. The family unit, which he has devoted himself wholeheartedly to protect and nurture, is now a fragile facade that threatens to crumble beneath the weight of truth, a truth that remains hidden, waiting to be unveiled. As the sterile fluorescent lights of the hospital beam down, Arthur finds himself adrift in a sea of uncertainty and fear. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor resonates almost like a metronome, marking the passage of time as he waits anxiously in the waiting room of the intensive care unit. Each beep heightens the knot of dread in his stomach, a visceral reminder of everything that hangs in the balance. Alara, the woman he once loved, the mother of his children, lies unconscious, a victim of fate's cruel intervention. Overwhelmed, Arthur struggles to process the precarious situation. The weight of his own internal anxieties shifts and sways, fueled by the nagging doubts that have taken root since Alara's pregnancy. He turns these thoughts over and over in his mind, the culmination of distress and uncertainty manifesting in fears he has never dared to voice aloud. What if Phoebe is not his? The question haunts him, invading even the most mundane moments, turning joy into bitterness. This seemingly insatiable dread lurks in every corner of his heart, desperately urging him to seek clarity amid the chaos. He finds a small flicker of solace in the presence of Eleanor, Alara's mother, who arrives at the hospital, her face etched with the same blend of worry and despair. It is a tragic tableau, the steadfast mother and the bewildered husband, both waiting for any sign of life from the one they love. They exchange no words at first, instead they exchange glances heavy with unspoken fears and lingering hope. As the minutes stretch into hours, the waiting room becomes a physical manifestation of their precarious reality, reflecting the waiting rooms of their lives as they grappled with the implications of Alara's past actions. With every update from the medical team that filters in and out, Arthur feels the ground sliding beneath him. The crushing truth he tries to swallow is that whether Alara survives this ordeal or not, his life depends on these moments. As Eleanor sits beside him, her face pale with trepidation, Arthur musters the courage to voice his spiraling thoughts. What if Phoebe is not mine? The question tumbles out, raw and exposed, shattering the fragile silence between them. Eleanor's expression shifts, a flicker of something shadowy crossing her features, with a heaviness in her voice. She confesses what Arthur cannot even begin to grasp. Eleanor had confessed to her about the affair, a secret she had carried with her like a leaden weight for far too long. Arthur, Eleanor says softly. Trembling as she speaks, Eleanor was still with him. She continued her relationship with that man. She felt lost, trapped. The avalanche of anguish crashes down around Arthur as the reality of his marital faithfulness collides harshly with Alara's betrayals. Eleanor's words sting like salt on an open wound, each syllable deepening the chasm that has opened between them. The very child that Arthur so earnestly wished to protect now becomes a harbinger of deception, a reminder of the uncertainty looming over their family. His heart clenches as he challenges the thought that has raged within him since Phoebe's birth. You do not mean to say, he falters, the gravity of his thoughts pressing down on him like an inexorable weight. She conceived Phoebe during that affair? Eleanor nods, a shard of regret piercing her voice. Alara was going to tell you, she hoped to spare you the pain after Phoebe's first birthday. These revelations break open Arthur's world, sending shards of disbelief and betrayal spiraling in every direction. The gravity of his situation collapses around him. They had built a fragile family, clinging to hope amidst quaking uncertainty, and yet it was all constructed on a foundation of lies. The bitter irony of the situation sinks deep into his veins, the thought of it bringing him to his knees. He had worked so hard to protect what was left of their family, to build a semblance of stability for Leo and Phoebe, He had trusted Alara's assurances, desperately clinging to the idea that their marriage had somehow survived the storm. But reality now stands stark. No amount of love could eclipse the truth of deception that has sown seeds of doubt deep within his heart. As the reality of this newfound truth settles around him, Arthur feels the surge of emotions rushing in: rage, sorrow, profound disappointment. Compiling into an unmanageable torrent, he finds himself grappling with conflicting thoughts. Phoebe, innocent and fragile, had entered his life as a beacon of hope, but is now subsumed by the darkness of betrayal. Alara's absence only adds to the desolation. How can he reconcile the love he holds for this child with the shattering reality he now confronts? In this tumultuous moment, Arthur understands he must make a choice. How he proceeds will ultimately define the new path his life is set to follow. As the hospital's sterile environment serves as a poignant backdrop, he recognizes that in the depths of despair, seeds of strength are sown. Despite the emotional turmoil that threatens to engulf him, a fierce determination begins to rise. He must act, confront the painful truths staring him down, and reclaim his life, piece by agonizing piece. Realizing the unwavering bond he shares with Leo, Arthur understands that his loyalty must lie with the child he has reared as his own. Feeling the urgency of his situation press against him like an iron shackle, he steels himself for a confrontation that could alter the course of his life and redefine what it means to be a father. The journey ahead is fraught with challenges, but he knows that the truth, no matter how painful, is the only path toward healing and resolution. In the dimly lit cafe, the air feels thick with unspoken tension as Arthur waits for Eleanor and Richard. He glances around, his heart racing, wrestling with the emotional storm raging inside him. This is a meeting that will irrevocably change lives: his, the lives of his children, and the lives of Eleanor and Richard. Every moment feels magnified, every minute stretching into eternity, as he anticipates confronting the very people who, in their silence, became complicit in Alara's web of deception. As they enter, Arthur steels himself. Eleanor's gaze meets his, a mixture of regret and concern etched across her face, while Richard, silent and stoic, stands slightly behind her, the weight of his protective instincts evident. The reality of their collective complicity hangs heavy in the air. Arthur gestures for them to sit, his voice tightly controlled. "I need you to take Phoebe for a few days," he states, the words firm but laden with internal strife. "I cannot take care of her right now." Eleanor's eyes widen, a hint of shock flickering across her features. "Arthur, we can talk about this," she starts. But he cuts her off, urgency fueling his resolve. "No more discussion. You both knew what was happening with Alara, and you chose to protect her. Now I need space to process this, all of this." Richard finally speaks, his voice low, almost defensive. "We were trying to protect our daughter. She has been through so much. You must understand that." Arthur feels a fire ignite within him, the rage boiling over at the sheer audacity of their justification, protecting Alara, he thinks, while sacrificing the truth that had been their approach all along. "I cannot be Phoebe's father. Not under these circumstances," Arthur responds, each word laced with a steely determination. "I cannot bring her back home after everything that has happened." The anguish of what he has become juxtaposed against the innocence of the child he once hoped to nurture cuts deeper than any knife. He had taken Phoebe into his arms, loved her as if she were his own, and yet this betrayal gnaws at the very fabric of his being. Eleanor's expression shifts, uncertainty clouding her eyes. "Arthur, please. Your anger is understandable, but she is just a child. She does not deserve—" Arthur interrupts her again, the raw emotion within him spilling over. "Neither does Leo. I will not drag him into this any longer. We need to think about what is best for both children. I am filing for divorce from Alara." Richard's brows furrow in protest. "You cannot make a decision like this in haste. You need to—" "I need to gather evidence," Arthur interjects, his tone brokering no argument. "I will compile everything I can find on Alara's affair. Every text, every statement, every detail I can access. This betrayal must be laid bare, once and for all." A moment of silence follows his declaration, their collective realization settling into the heavy atmosphere between them. The conversation grinds to a halt as Arthur processes the magnitude of his next steps. He would retrieve Alara's phone under the pretense of needing emergency contact details for Leo. He would sift through social media accounts, credit statements, every digital footprint she left behind, all while meticulously recording everything. He would prepare himself for the confrontation that was inevitable, the confrontation that would evolve into a legal battle. As they finish their drinks, their faces reflect a blend of sorrow and disbelief, two parents caught between loyalty to their daughter and the stark reality of the truth around them. Arthur rises, determination anchoring his resolve. I will contact you when I need you to take Phoebe. Until then, do not reach out. I need to deal with this on my terms. He walks away from the cafe, each step planting further into the ground the resolve he has forged. The road ahead is daunting, fraught with uncertainty, but within him a commingling of despair and resolve ignites a spark, a flicker of hope, a drive for clarity in a world that had spiraled out of control. Or trout. As Arthur embarks on this new chapter, his mind dances between visions of a life reclaimed and the shadows of betrayal that cling to him. It is now or never. He is determined not to repeat history. For Leo, for himself, he must reclaim everything that was stolen by lies. Thank you for joining me on this deeply emotional journey through Arthur's life as he navigates the painful complexities of love, betrayal, and resilience. If you found this story moving, please like, share, and comment below. Your support not only fuels my passion for storytelling, but also allows me to bring more powerful narratives like this one to you. If you want to keep following Arthur's journey or explore stories that inspire and provoke thought, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. I would love to hear your thoughts on this chapter and any experiences you may relate to in the comments. Remember, healing and growth often spring from our most painful moments. Until next time, take care and keep seeking your truth.